Hello, everyone. After a long time, we are back at Krishiv Talks, and it's been a wonderful journey. I will tell you more about what happened during the last few months, but I think I was bound to begin the podcast with a fresh topic, with a fresh theme of travel. And today, I have a guest from the mainland Spain who has lived and worked in 10 different culturally unique countries. I'm still trying to name them, but welcome, Albert.
Thank you very much, Krishiv. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast today.
How many languages do you know?
Well, that's a good
Because you've
question
lived in 10.
because yeah. I love languages. I mean, I really love, and I now we are talking about traveling. No, I really like not. I really like to integrate. No? Let's say about integration, and I think language is a key part. When you go to a different culture, to a different country with different people, I think it's good to be open, no, to learn a little bit the language. So I speak professionally, let's say English, Spanish, and Catalan. Spanish and Catalan because it's my mother tongue. I'm
Three.
based in Barcelona, and then English like professionally, because I've been traveling and it's a very common language to use and work, and I this professionally. But I talk other languages, but not, let's say, in a professional level that I could be able to work professionally to be really proficient. But I speak like French, I speak Portuguese, I speak German because I lived in those countries and because I love learning. And I at least to understand a little bit, not to be able to be proficient and to really be professional and act, but to survive in the country. Than when you go to a restaurant and when you go ask for directions or when you want to interact with people, so you can use their own language.
Okay, so I'm going to list those 10 countries. I'm going to try my best. Spain,
Yes,
Portugal,
Portugal,
France, Germany,
France,
UK.
Germany, England,
Uh,
Holland, Netherlands,
UK is like the host. Yes, Netherlands, Russia,
Russia,
Israel,
yeah, US,
USA, and
USA,
and and
Australia.
Australia. Okay, so basically that covers Europe, North America, and Australia. And I would
And
say
yeah, I also
Israel
been in
is in
Norway, I
Asia.
also was in Norway in another project. But yeah, I would say yeah, these are the ones that I stayed longer. No, obviously, in some projects I stay like around 1 year, and some other project I stay like 3 years. So, but I like as I had the opportunity also as an engineer to be able to work and travel. I was deploying mobile deployments in that part of my life. So I was honored to have this chance to really stay away from home and really work in different countries.
So it's not 10, but with Norway, that makes it 11. And I
Well, yeah, because,
remember,
well, yeah.
and I remember that during our conversation, you mentioned three more countries where you were expected to be deployed, but you denied. So it
Well,
would have been the number would have been much more, but yes, I mean 11 is also like a very big number.
yeah, I think that at some point, you have like periods in life. Traveling was quite important for me. And I think it was not at some point, not a matter, as you say, not to reach more countries. Maybe that was initial, maybe one, when we were talking now, preparing this conversation a little bit, I was mentioning initial my career, maybe I was looking more at the outside. Maybe I was looking more, to fulfill a career, to do many countries, to explore the whole world. And I was a little bit getting a little bit mature after my middle age crisis. I was more doing an inner journey, maybe more than knowing more countries outside or knowing a lot of more cultures outside myself. I was looking, okay, trying to understand myself, no, trying to look more in the inside, trying to align with my belief. Because, okay, you can say when I was 30, maybe I had already lived in six, seven, eight countries, doesn't matter, but maybe I wasn't even know my strength. Maybe I didn't even know my purpose. No, I discovered the purpose a little bit later. I discovered my values a little bit later. So at the end, I think when you are young or when you start a career, you, at least for me, no, and maybe a lot of people will resonate on this podcast. Maybe it was also your journey, no, that we tend to initially look more at the outside, no? What I'm going to achieve, no? Like success, how success looks like, money, traveling, and then at some point, no, we were talking about Maslow. You try to achieve more
Yes.
self-realization, no? More purpose, more spirituality.
Well, the midlife crisis is altogether another session.
Yeah,
We will come back to that in the near future. Because I think to talk about midlife crisis, we need another session and another specific dedicated
true.
an episode. The focus for today is like you've lived in not 10 but 11 different countries. And see, the point that I'm trying to make to you viewers is that he's not just a tourist who has been to 11 different countries. He's actually lived there. He's maybe frequently visited, and he has lived there. He has worked over there. He has interacted with 11 different societies. And that fascinated me because there are lots of people who can say they've been to 50 countries, but when you really talk to them, it's basically they've just been there for tourism, so they know all the tourist things which most people know, but to know how how the society is, how the people think, how the people live, is something that when you spend some extended period of time, just like you said, you spend anywhere between 1 year to 3 years. So I think that is enough time to gather meaningful information, data about how that society works. Like the Russian, the Jewish, the German, the French, the British, the Spanish. These are the Portuguese. These are all very unique societies. And then America and Australia are totally on the other side of the planet. Uh, how was your experience like switching from one culture to the next?
Yeah.
It can be sometimes a bit overwhelming to be, every few months or years you have to now learn new things about another society, and to be that kind of a student that how to speak their language, how to interact, what to do, what not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. No, I mean, professionally, I was working in English because that was the common language in Cisco. When I was working one of my times or in the other startup, we were always working in English, and that's the language that we use in the customer. No, so that was the common thing. But then for social, for living, not to interacting, sometimes you need to learn something, or at least, with English you could work. Um, as you said, I think it's a matter of thinking about the age. When we are young, when we have 20, 25, I don't know, I wanted to explore the world, to visit every single country, so I had a lot of motivation. But then at some point, for me, it was the uncertainty, because and actually be able to own your own life, because it can sound like very exciting. Okay, yeah, you have traveled there, but I didn't actually decide it, most of it. Let's say, so you were following a career or you are working for a company, so it was more the company that decide. When I joined, I didn't know that I would be able to travel that much. So I was following the projects in the company, that they were doing one project there, they win another bid there, and then they win another customer there, and I was just following the contracts that my company won. And actually, as you were mentioning, no, at some point the company won projects in countries, let's say more like in Pakistan, or you could say Iraq, other countries, like the culture, you could say it's a little bit more different than my own country, and it could be more challenging. And at some point I actually had to stop, because for me, so it was very good, it was very, let's say, powerful, interesting cultural experience, for some time. But at the same situation, I had like no power. Let's say I didn't decide it, but I was like somewhere looking forward to it. I was just following the contract that my company was winning, and at some point the company said, "Look, now we have contracts here, here, and here. You have to go this." So I mean, it was and that's what created my middle age crisis, because I was not deciding. For me, I told my manager, "Look, send me to the Caribbean, no? Send me to the Caribbean. No? My project, yeah, we have no project there. Oh, well, you're sending me to Pakistan, Iraq, Iran, all these parts where there are business, but I don't know, it's, you have to stay there at least half year, for the project. So it's a lot of time. I mean, I would like to go to Latin America, because there's more resonance with my language, with my culture, because more maybe for like travel, because you love more the culture. But at some point, for me, the realization was, okay, yeah, I love traveling, but I really don't have the power to decide. My manager once told me, Albert, I'm not a travel agency. You are working for me. Because at some point I love traveling,
Okay,
but
so
I couldn't
then
decide. There's a
I
project in
saw, I
Iraq,
saw.
there's a project in Pakistan at some point. If you want Saudi Arabia and other this part of the world, if you want to continue your career, the projects are there. I cannot send you where you want. So we
I
can,
think there's a clash that I
yeah,
see, because you were in a phase where, look, I'm not that junior now. I
right.
have to kind of stand up for what means to me, and if I want to go in another part of the world, you can't try to influence me to go to some countries that I may not be very comfortable,
Yeah,
because
exactly. Yeah.
every human being has a different comfort zone.
No,
Some
exactly. And
people are
then,
more,
mhm.
and I totally understand when you say Latin America, because the language is the same. The
Right.
communication. If you went to Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, the first thing is, forget the language. You would have to learn the scriptures. It's totally different.
Yeah.
The Arabic scripture, for instance, the Chinese also, the Japanese, the Russian also. These scriptures completely change. So at least if you go to Latin America, you can read, write, and you can communicate efficiently with the locals. Since we both are living in Spain, and from
Mhm.
your experience of spending time in 11 different countries, what do you think particularly stands out about Spain? Because there's a growing digital nomad culture in Spain. I personally know many, and there's a growing nomad culture that from all over Europe and all parts of the world, they prefer to relocate to Spain. What do you think Spain is doing right, or what stands out from all those 11 countries that you've lived and worked, and maybe few more that you've just been as a tourist? What stands out about Spain?
Well, the first thing I would like to say is that when you travel, or one of the main things, or one of the importance of traveling, is that you are able to value more your own home. At least that for me the experience, no? Because when you are like always in one place, maybe you think, oh, the other places will be awesome. No, it's like, I don't know, maybe when you have some friends, when you have something, you think the others thing are much better, or I don't know. For me it was an appreciation. I mean, I appreciate every culture because you can learn from all of them, and from all, I don't know, I think you become very flexible and you become very acceptable the more you understand. But for me it was to value Spain or certain things, no? Obviously, the weather, no? The weather, it's one thing. The weather, the food, and also I think for foreigners, not for the people, local people, because the situations with tax and the situation with economy, with unemployment, let's say, that are not that great. For the salary you get, it's quite challenging, let's say, to live here. But for foreigners, but people that are earning much more money, I think that our country is cheap. So that's why so many people, like many people, I think, is retiring here, that with all their savings, and are buying properties here, which is also actually increasing the prices, no, for us. But I think that you could appreciate it safe as at the same price. I mean, there is uncertainty everywhere, but I could see that it's quite safe. Spain, so the weather, the food, the people, it's also quite friendly. I mean, we could say that we have the whole Europe, or at least every region in Spain, is very rich. That if you go to the north of Spain, it's like if you visit another country. That if you go to the south of Spain, or you are in the Canary Island, right? So it's like another part of Spain, or you go to Catalonia or Basque Country. So I think it's very rich as well itself, in the culture, no, in the food, in the people, in the languages as well, because the language is a bit different in every part. So I think we have like another continent inside us. So I think it's very rich in all these terms.
I have lived in England and also in E- and also in India,
Right.
particularly about Spain, no doubt, the weather, but it's also this healthy balance between hospitality, like the way Spanish people talk, and the same time they the Spanish people, they give you space. So if I look at India, for example, it can sometimes feel that lack of space.
Really? Okay.
Sometimes in certain parts, especially in the north,
Okay.
more than in the south. In the UK, it's totally, you have all the space,
Right. Too much space, I would
too
say,
much
in the
space.
UK.
Exactly,
Too
yeah.
much space.
And at some point, it feels like, well, I think nobody cares about me. In the north of India, it can feel like people care too much
Okay.
compared to the south. Spain is where people care about you, but they also set some boundaries. So it's not like they care too much or
Right.
they don't care at all. It's somewhere in between. And I
So
think
yeah.
that Spain hits it right
That's why
with
you like it
that.
here, right, Krishiv? After being in India and being in the UK, I think for you it's like the middle point, no? So that's why you like
Middle
it
point.
here.
I,
Yeah.
frankly speaking, UK was one end
Right.
of the extreme. North India, even though I don't live in the north,
Mm-hmm.
but I've spent quite some time. And in the north, uh, in the north of India, there's a community sense. So that is also something I enjoyed. But I think in Spain, we have that community as well as you have your own things. So if
Individual.
you say no, people respect it, even though generally we don't say no because we love to interact. But there is that thing, that from Monday to Friday, you are solo, you're at it. And then Saturday, Sunday, there's a community. You can meet people. That is what I love about Spain, which is in the UK, it is more like every day is roughly the same because Monday to Friday, you're also solo, but then sometimes Saturday, Sunday, you could also be solo. And in the north of India, there are too many festivals. So it doesn't really know when there's a Monday to Friday because the festival can be on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday, which is right in the middle of the week. So, it can be a bit. Spain, I think, has that right work-life balance, and especially more in the Canary Islands, especially specifically my island, which is Lanzarote. The fact is, the island is small, so everything is very close. Nothing is really so far for me because of where but it is also large enough that on a Saturday, Sunday, you can plan things out and you can spend time in different areas of the island, the south, the center, the north.
Yeah,
So, so
I
this is
think
the
that now.
ultimate.
Yeah, no, I think that you mentioned Canary Island, no? For example, the location, I think the sun, it can affect the let's say the behaviors of the people, no? At the end of the day, for
Exactly.
example, when I was in Norway, the temperature, it's very cold.
Yeah,
There
very
is,
cool.
it was in winter actually there, so it was, I was seeing almost not much light during the day. So
Yes, yes, yes.
it affects the way people relate, no? That you're mentioning. Canary Island, for example, it's well known for having more than 300 sunny days a year, no? They promise actually
Actually,
that. So.
it's rare. We normally so here's the thing. In the UK, if the sun is there, it kind of becomes news that the sun is
Yes, yeah,
shining
yeah,
today. In the
right.
Canary Islands, it is news that today is cloudy. It might even rain. It's a news. But it's
Right.
totally the opposite. As you said that Spain is for the weather and for the uh, food. But whenever you come to the Canary Islands, you will think that the weather of Canary Islands is even better than mainland Spain because mainland Spain still has a winter.
Right.
Barcelona still has a winter. In the Canary Islands, is basically summer and maybe you can say spring when you feel the need to wear a jacket, but not the thermals.
Yeah,
You can comfortably
just
just
one
wear a
thing, one thing
jacket
sweater.
and that's it.
Beautiful. No, I
So
mean
yeah,
we can complain, no, but that's what I was meaning a little bit, no. For me, living in Spain, sometimes we think, no, that maybe other countries, are richer because you hear the news or because you read something, no. I remember once, for example, I was in Madrid, and I was walking in one of the popular areas, and I saw vermouth of Reus. No, I am from Reus, no, that's South Barcelona,
yes.
and I saw vermouth from my town, and I entered the bar and I asked the waiter, "Hey, are you from Reus?" He said, "No, why?" Say, well, you have vermouth from Reus. Yeah, it's very good. And I said, really? So sometimes you have to go. I had to go to Madrid to realize the
The
vermouth from
value
Reus
of
is
your,
great.
yes,
For me, that was like, really? And then now, that was like maybe more than 20 years ago. And now it's really very popular in Reus. They really advertise. They really do a lot of marketing. You can find it everywhere. But before, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I had to go to Madrid to realize the good things. So maybe this is the
exactly.
same. Sometimes you have to go outside to really value, no, or to really value what you have. So I think that's the best thing, let's say, about traveling, that you can really decide. No, when you only have one option, when you only have some, no, when you have some opinions, but when you have 10 opinions, then you can really have a better understanding.
Another thing you mentioned about Spain is that earning a Spanish salary and also living in Spain can be a bit of a challenge. But what I've noticed is that people over here, because living costs are, can be quite high.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they choose to live with their families till later in life, and I think that that also brings the community, because you're living with your family for longer years. So I think that
Yeah.
contributes positively, especially to the well-being of the parents, maybe the grandparents, if they're still alive, that my whole family lives with me. No doubt, maybe at 8 or 9 in the morning, people leave, but they know that by 6, 7 in the evening, we will share a meal together.
Yeah.
So I think, like when I saw the UK, is that people leave home when they're 18 or so, and then that has another side, because when, for example, if the parents are in their mid 40s or 50s or mid 50s, that is usually the time when one realizes that they need company. It's like, they can't be so much time in solo.
Yeah.
So I think that because cost, the real estate cost in Spain is high, people end up living together.
True. I mean, I actually have friends, that are above 40 that live with their parents, no? Because
Yeah.
they cannot afford it. So yeah, it's a situation. I think
And
that.
I think that still makes Spanish people more family oriented. They have a so Spanish and even Irish people, from what I've noticed, have a strong family culture. But
Yeah, that's
that
true.
that people take out time to spend with the family, especially in Spain. Sunday, people are like, Sunday is for my family.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, I tend to go to visit my parents, for example, every 2 Sundays or every two
Yes,
weeks. Sunday it's a good day, to really meet them. So yeah, I agree on what you're saying. The only thing is like, for example, when I was telling you about traveling, for me, the important to question, no? I mean, we are coaches, or we are like, we like, it's the question, no? The questioning for the mindset, no? Is this
yeah,
intended? I mean, is this intended? Or what's the intention behind this living together with my parents? No, I'm 40, I'm still living with my
exactly,
parents. I really want to live with them, or it's because I really have no other option, no? Because we're talking about community, but at the
exactly,
same
yeah,
time, sometimes it's need. No? I mean, that I think that the intention is, no, what's my intention? I really, because sometimes it's more for survival, no, let's say, and because of the situations. And I know many people that, for example, live with their partner, no, the couple, or they got married, then they got divorced, and then they had to go back with their families, no?
Yes.
So,
I think because for many people, there is no choice,
right,
then it ultimately becomes, it's like because you don't have a choice, why don't you turn living with your parents as something nice rather
right,
than spend those many years while they are alive complaining that I need my privacy and all that. Rather, if life created a scenario where you have to live with your parents, why not make that a celebration rather
right.
than
No,
than
that's
uh, uh, hoping for something better? Because maybe today, if I think that living solo, maybe living solo could be worse, you know?
I like what as a professional developer, no, expert in people development, no, we either ask questions, no, like, is this intended, no, are you doing this, you're surviving, you really want it? And then the second thing is when you cannot change something, I
Yeah.
mean, like, change the way you look at it, no. So if, like,
Yes.
if this is a need, you cannot afford it, at least, be it meaningful, do it a celebration, do it an appreciation, show gratitude, no, have an opportunity to spend time with your family. So at least, this mindset, because it's right, yeah, many people are maybe living with their family and they are like feeling upset about themselves, no? Maybe they feel bad because they couldn't cannot afford, because they are not achieving the results
Yeah.
that they want in their life. So at least, I think I like your mindset, no,
What I realize is that, life doesn't always give one what he or she wants. So if
right.
that's the fact, then it's wise to enjoy what I have while I can still work and I can still give it my best to maybe buy a house of my choice or
Right.
a car. But then that should not place my entire happiness i- uh, in the future, because the fact is that I may not even exist in the future. I
True.
just know that today, right now, as we are recording this session, I exist. Maybe
True.
after this podcast or maybe today evening, I can cease to exist at any moment. There is no notice period. At least the landlord or the employer gives a notice period. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you can leave. But be honest, life never gives any notice period. So why not turn situations into celebration? And I know that not every situation is going to be a celebration. Like being in a in a hospital or in a jail may not be a celebration, but at least being and living with your family is not like living in a hospital or being in a
Yeah.
jail. You still have freedom. You still have something that is going well while you are living with the family.
True, no, I like this sentence, no? To turn every
Exactly.
situation into a celebration, no? We can do
As
if you.
much as
It's powerful.
possible, there
It's
are
powerful.
some
Yeah.
things that you know that these are not blessings and you have to go through the pain. But I think that living with parents is not necessarily that painful.
Mm. No, no. I think it's maybe more painful for the parents. I mean, because they
Maybe.
have maybe
I
it's more
hope
painful
not, but maybe.
from the parent, no? Because they hope you can be independent. You have been all your life with them. They
I
want to be
think they
alone. Maybe.
teach you. I think that while you live with your parents, also, I think they teach you. It's not that they are um alive, so that they will do everything. At least in my case, they are teaching me that someday we will not be here, so you should know how to manage things independently. But I want to summarize today's session with now you are living for most of the time you're living in Spain, in Barcelona. How does it feel now? After spending time in 11 countries, and now, and after the midlife crisis, how do you feel? Like, how is Spain as your ultimate base?
So,
You're
yeah.
back to the square from where you started.
So to be honest, I mean, I miss traveling a little bit, because being at some points I didn't know in my calendar where I would be next week, or I couldn't plan. No, I mean, I had like three countries in in 1 month or things like that. I miss some part traveling, but I'm not considering like living abroad. No, for example, like what I consider now is go for short projects for doing some leadership trainings or AI trainings to a customer in Mexico, for example. So I can go for a specific project, stay there, do the project, do visit something, visit some friends, because now the good thing is that I have friends in many countries, right? And then come back here to Spain. And then also what I appreciate now is being able to have, when I was asking you, having the intention, no, having the control, let's say, or to decide. No, if I want to travel or if I want to work, now I work for myself. So I decide which countries, no, and how long. I mean, obviously it depends on the customers, but I can really say, no, I want to target this country, I want to stay there. So I am more controlled than before, that my manager tell me, Albert, you have to go here, Albert, you have to go there. And so I would say this, no, I have more intention, I have more power to decide where I want to go, and more, I like this feeling, no, when you are abroad, also like that you don't know when you will be back. So it's this feeling that, this moment is unique, that all moments are unique, but that you are
Yes.
here, there now, it's a different experience, you have more presence, and because you don't know when you're going to be back, so you want to make the most of every single moment.
Well, talking to you has been like a world tour, and I can't wait to host you soon. And I will end the session by saying that I hope you make uh, Canary Islands as your next target.
Thank you. It
And
will
we
be an
are
honor.
here,
I will
and
be.
you're
I will love
always
to,
most.
to be there and meet you there.
Yes.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Will be pleasure to be back.
Thank you. Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon.